Frozen vegetables are actually the most cost-effective way for you to get the highest nutrition vegetables. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And this is one of those things that people don't always grasp. I notice it in comments. I notice it when I do live streams. Whenever people see me post a picture and they'll see me shopping and I'm buying frozen broccoli and things, people will chime in, well, I prefer it fresh. And it's like, you're not really getting it fresh, and you try to explain that to people. Food science has developed around this ability to get nutrition to people, right, and to make it cost effective and to preserve nutrients and things. So this is an entire area of science that people literally get degrees in, and they study and research this. So everything is not always about just the fitness world. It's literally understanding how do we feed a population, right? And we can argue about, health interests and everything. I don't actually believe there are conspiracies to make people sick by the food industry and all this nonsense. What I've generally seen, because again, I've lived in a town where there is literally an agricultural university, and known plenty of people who are pursuing degrees or who have even advanced degrees in agricultural science. Right? Who actually do care about, hey, can we get nutrients to people? How do we make it cost effective? We make it cost effective for farms, for ranches? How do we get these places to where they can deliver high quality foods to people while keeping costs reasonable? Because there's all of that to factor in. And what people don't realize, the way that we do frozen vegetables today, at least in the U.S., I don't know what happens in the rest of the world, but in the U.S., they're fresher than the stuff you're getting in the produce section. And again, I know this throws people off, and they're like, well, what if I get it at a farmer's market? Only if you cook it and eat it the same day. Okay, it is only comparable to the frozen stuff if the farmer's market picked it fresh. You buy it and cook it that day, and you go back to the farmer's market again for fresh food tomorrow. Like if you let it sit overnight or 2 days before you cook it and eat it, you're behind. Like you have lost freshness and nutritional value over the frozen. And then people go, my God, how can that be? Because they flash freeze it the same day it's picked. Okay. So this is where we are with this technology to preserve it. This allows us to preserve the nutrition of vegetables without adding a bunch of stuff to them, right? Because usually canned foods and everything, there's a lot of preservatives or different types of salts and things. And people don't realize that. They'll see something, well, that's just a salt. Well, that's still a preservative. And we shouldn't be consuming huge amounts of sodium. Okay, that's actually an issue for us, especially in an obese society with high blood pressure and everything. So, so realistically, even those sodium preservatives, it's not really ideal, if you're really trying to get ideal. So flash freezing is technology that allows us to have stuff froze instantly, right? They can hit it with a super cold amount and freeze it solid really, really fast. It doesn't have to spend, overnight freezing to get there. They freeze it fast to get it in freezers, get it transported, shipped. And what that does is that level of freezing locks in all your vitamins and things, right? It stops them from degrading. As long as you don't get freezer burned and other stuff, this maintains a higher level of freshness, okay? And a lot of people are unaware of this, so they're seeing this and they're thinking, and I've had people literally say, well, it just tastes better, but it's like, why do you think it tastes better? It could be the way you're cooking it. Because also keeping in mind, a lot of people are like, well, I try to minimally cook whatever, some of those vegetables. Well, why? Again, if we go by what's been measured in digestibility, you are aware, and people aren't aware of this apparently, cooking your vegetables actually increases bioavailability of the vitamins and minerals. Okay? And all this scuttlebutt you always hear from these anti-vegetable carnivore people talking about anti-nutrients. The best leading experts in the world point out that if you look at the data, most of those anti-nutrients are largely present, and they're not always even seriously problematic. Keep that in mind. They've been overblown with some exceptions. They're largely present in raw food. And when you cook all these vegetables and plants, it gets rid of most of them. In some cases, literally cooking certain vegetables removes something like down to 1/10,000th of the amount of those anti-nutrients. So it's not just a 99% reduction. It's like a 99.99% reduction in them. So yes, cooking your vegetables actually helps with that, because a lot of those, the concern is they block absorption of certain things. So it increases bioavailability. So I mean, realistically, if someone is trying to maximize nutrient content, buying frozen vegetables and then cooking them completely is technically going to give you the highest yield of most of your vitamins. Okay? And again, people forget that. They don't think about that with human history and our ancestors going back thousands, if not millions of years. Cooking our food is what got us where we are. Okay? The ability to cook. In fact, anyone who's even talking about meat, if we didn't cook food, you wouldn't be eating meat at all. You would be largely, almost entirely herbivores. Okay? Because we're not well equipped to handle raw meat. Occasionally, some people try to do it in the modern world with their weird diets, only because they're getting really, really, really fresh meat. You're not going to do that with stuff that's in a different environment. In a more wild environment, you're going to run into a lot more problems. Right? A lot more problems. So again, keeping in mind, that's what allowed us to even eat that stuff. But the same thing with a lot of vegetables. There are a lot of plants that we wouldn't have gotten the nutrient content out of them without cooking. Like, cooking is what's allowed us to get all this nutrition and pretty much spread across the entire world. This has allowed the human species to spread to all these different continents over thousands of years and thrive. It's the ability to cook. And a lot of that because we break down those matrices that are stopping us from digesting all this stuff. It's the reason we don't need ruminant stomachs or any of that stuff. It allows us to get a higher nutrition yield with a smaller GI tract size. Okay, this has been fantastic for developing a larger brain, intelligence, all these things. It's been phenomenal for it. But it's the same with these foods. Like this, buying the frozen stuff and then cooking it completely is literally the best way to get the most nutritional value. The highest preservation of it and then the highest bioavailability. So again, people are not understanding the process here. They're not understanding what's been measured, the science, why these technologies have been developed. It lets us preserve nutrition and it makes it just simply cheaper, right? It's easier to deal with, transport, all of this stuff. Okay, it actually reduces the cost on top of it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.